Hello friends, and welcome back to my channel. And in today's video, I want to go over the National Association of Realtors settlement because it will more than likely have an effect on you. So stick around to learn some more details of how buyers and sellers may be affected by the National Association of Realtors settlement. Thanks so much for sticking around, friends. My name is Nicole Smith, and I am a member of the National Association of Realtors, and that is a trademark name. So if I wasn't a member of that, I would only be able to call myself a real estate agent. I do have my real estate license here in the state of Florida, but since the National Association of Realtors decided to settle in the lawsuit, that has changed everything for every realtor across the entire country. And I just wanted to break that down into a few simple things so you understand, if you're a buyer, how that is changing for you, and if you're a seller, how that might be changing for you also. So I want to share a screen and I want to show you an article. So this is what the National Association of Realtors settlement means for home buyers and sellers. On March 15th, the National Association of Realtors, known as NAR, reached an agreement with the plaintiffs that, if approved by the court, an end litigation of claims brought on behalf of home sellers related to broker commission. The settlement also includes some changes to real estate transactions. But importantly, consumers will continue to have choices regarding real estate services. These practice changes will go into effect on August 17th, 2020. So we have already passed August 17th. We're now into September 2024. And you may or may not have heard about this new decision and the new situation going on. So the old method, pretty much what would happen is, as a realtor, we would sit down with a potential seller and we would go over all of their numbers, the contract, and in that discussion, we would ask them if they're willing to share our commission that they would pay our broker and share it with a buyer's agent broker. And they would let us know what they would be willing to share, and then we would put that in writing. So in most regards, this is still what is going on. The biggest difference is now we have to ask our buyer if they're going to want to see a house. We have to have them sign a contract with us, like they're listing with us, but instead of being a seller, they are now a buyer. So they have to make a commitment to us, and we have to make a commitment to them. And if the homes they're looking at are not being cooperated by the seller to share the commission with the buyer's agent, that they are going to have to pay the commission for us to help them. Now, the way this lawsuit is working, you cannot go to see a property at all without signing this contract. So you as a buyer and me as a buyer's agent cannot go and look at homes until this contract is signed. And this is for every single real estate agent across the entire country. And we are having to do this. And so I wanted to explain this to you if you've never heard of this, but a lot of states were already doing this. So this is something new for Florida. However, most agents are familiar with this because oftentimes we do have our buyers sign a commitment to us. because there are properties that they may be interested in that are being sold by a homeowner versus by a real estate company or a real estate broker. So we would have had them sign these contracts before if those were the situations we were facing. And if you've ever worked with a buyer's agent, you know how hard we work for you. There are a very, very large amount of tasks that we do, and we will not be getting paid until the deal closes. So we have many cases where we've worked and never got paid. And so this is going to cover us, and this is going to cover you. And the other thing that has changed because of this lawsuit is we are no longer allowed to advertise on the MLS, which is the multiple listing service. We are no longer allowed to advertise compensation. So as a realtor, we were able to look at it and see what percentage the seller was paying us. Now we are going to have to call the agent and ask if there is any compensation, or we're just going to be showing the homes and then letting the buyer know this particular home is being compensated, or you're going to have to compensate. So the money is either going to be shared by the seller or it's going to be paid by the buyer. So those are the biggest changes going on right now in this market. And I wanted to share that with you just in case you are not aware. So if you and I decide to work together, we're going to have a consultation and I'll go over everything in more detail with you. But I just wanted you to know that you would be obligated to sign a contract. And then, of course, if the seller is not sharing compensation, I would do my very best to negotiate that on your behalf. And we would try to do what we could to get some sort of compensation paid by the seller. If not, that is now going to be a new amount for your closing costs that you'll have to consider. So having your normal 3 to 4% for your closing costs, which would be your fees with your lenders, your title company, now you're going to have to add another 2, 3, 4, 5, 6%, depending on what your buyer's broker is going to be charging you on top of your closing costs. So keep that in mind when preparing to purchase a new home. So as a buyer's agent, when I am in the role of a buyer's agent, because I'm also a listing agent, but when I'm in the role of being your buyer's agent, I have to do the very best I can to first establish a relationship with you so that you and I get to really know each other. I have to go over a very long list of questions, asking you your wants, your needs, what are you desiring in your home, location, the aesthetics of it, the layout of it. And this consultation can take anywhere from 20 minutes to 30 minutes. Be 45 to an hour. It just all depends on our time together. But through that conversation, I will be able to establish what your wants and needs are. And then the next step for me is to go ahead and start the paperwork with you. If you're deciding to hire me, then I would have to send you the paperwork so that you and I are under contract together, and I'm obligated to you and you're obligated to me. Now, at any time, if you feel like you've decided you want to stop the process, then we would just have a discussion, and that would be how we would just no harm, no foul. But in between those times and after our contracts are signed, I would have to go into what I call the multiple listing service and set up a search. Once I set up the search for you, I would send you all the searches in the houses that I have found. And then once you start getting them automated, any new home meeting your criteria that I have set up will start coming to your email maybe once, maybe twice a day. During that time, you would make notes or send me responses to the emails indicating you were interested in a particular property. Once we have established that there are at least 3 or 4 homes that you're interested in, maybe less, depends on the situation, because it could be a very unique home and you only find one, we would schedule a time to go and tour those properties. With that in mind, I would also be doing my research on that particular property, finding out information that you may be interested in, like schools, if there's an HOA, for example, what the taxes are like in the area. I would also be doing a comparative market analysis to see what the pricing is compared to what it's priced at versus what the market is saying it's worth. And so all of that takes time and research. Once you have decided to go ahead with the offer, I would write up a contract. I would contact the agent, get more information, and I would send you all the contracts to sign. Once you decide to go ahead, then we send that contract in and we wait for the seller's agent to respond to us, whether they accept the offer or perhaps they have a counter offer. In the meantime, I am always negotiating and advocating for you, and I am doing everything I can in my power to make sure that you're getting the best home that fits your needs for the very best price. So if we assume that they do go ahead and accept your offer, the next step in the home buying process is for you to send them earnest money deposit. Now, typically it could be a 1% deposit, and it would be wired to a title company. Florida is a title company state, so we do all of our transactions typically with a title company and not an attorney. Now, of course, attorneys can do them. I am only speaking on typical situations. So I particularly work with a title company if I am representing sellers in Duval County in Northeast Florida. Primarily, sellers get to choose the title company because they have to pay a little bit more for the closing costs, and so therefore they want to choose their title company. And then the buyers would get wiring instructions on how to wire their earnest money deposit to the title company. They typically have 3 days to get this done in order to keep the contract effective. And also during that time frame, which would state on the contract, you would have a time for inspection. Typically, time for inspection is between 7 and 10 days, at which point I would email you a list of some of my preferred home inspectors, and you would have to call them and find out their pricing and their services and hire one of them. Then we would coordinate a time to go to the home together, and I would be representing you. In most cases, the buyers are not there for the home inspection. The buyer's agent is there with the home inspector. We would also have what we call the WDO, which is the wood destroying organism inspection. We would want to get a 4-point inspection, which is something very important to help with your homeowner's insurance, because they're going to check to see if you qualify for some discounts with that inspection, and wind mitigation is also part of that. And here in Florida, because we are a state that is prone to hurricanes, there are certain criteria that the home inspection will look at, and that will help with home insurance, because insurance, obviously, if you have more protection with your roof, then that will help with the price for home in insurance. Also, during this time frame, we would also let you know that you should not change your occupation. Also, be getting qualified. If you should already be pre-qualified for a loan, but what you would need to do is now contact your lender, let them know that you're under contract, and we would have to send them a copy of the contract so they know that the time frame and what they need to do to get you closed on that loan. And during this process of qualifying for your mortgage, you will not be able to purchase any big items. You cannot change your job, and you just have to follow some very strict rules so that you don't get yourself in trouble and lose the option of purchasing a home while you're in the process of qualifying for your mortgage. In typical homes, you can close on a mortgage between 30 and 45 days. Now, if you're a cash buyer, that process can be lowered because the title company does have to do municipal lien search and title search for you to make sure that everything is insurable, that when the title changes from your seller's name to your name, that they are lawfully and legally the homeowner, and that there's no clouds on the title, that there's no liens on the title, and if there are, that everything is paid off prior to you purchasing the home. So the title company does need time to do that. And in a normal mortgage process, 30 to 45 days would definitely have time to do that. And also get a copy of the survey. If there isn't one by the seller, then the buyer can have the option of purchasing one, which can cost, it depends on the size of the house and the size of the lot, but let's say between $300 to say $800 for a survey. Typically here in Northeast Florida, the sellers provide the survey or pay for the survey, but that is not always the case. And typical closing costs here are between 3 and 5%. And then now you will have to consider if you're paying for your buyer's agent compensation. So keep that in mind when you are preparing for a home buying purchase. Also, if you're getting a FHA loan, 3.5% is your down payment. A conventional loan you can do as low as 3%, but if you do not want PMI, you would have to do a 20% deposit so you don't have to pay for more insurance. While all of this is going on, you're also going to have to start from homeowners insurance. Now, if this is something that you don't have an idea of who you would use, I do have a list of local home insurance companies that I can provide for you to help you call and source out homeowners insurance. You're also want to consider whether you're living in a flood zone. So even before you put an offer in, we could always call the home insurance company to see what the home insurance would cost. In such a way, you might already do things like that with your auto insurance. You can do that same process with home insurance. And if you do have auto insurance with a particular company that offers home insurance, you may save some money by getting it bundled. So these are just the main steps. And once we get the clear to close from your lender, they will send you all the final documents 3 days before closing, so you have all the numbers. And typically what you're going to need to do is wire the money the night before to the title company and get all that taken care of the day before your close. The day of closing, we do like to go through our final walkthrough, and we would go and make sure the home is in standing condition, that it's ready to move in, that the sellers have left it in great shape, And if that is the case, then we go to the closing table. And when we get to the closing table, you sign all your documents. You get a copy of all your paperwork. You get a copy of your new keys. And if you have a garage door, you get a copy of your garage door openers. And then what happens is the title company will get your deed registered with the state and the county here, and you will get a copy of your deed in the mail 3 to 4 weeks after you close. And we are a homestead state. So once you get a copy of that, you would want to go to the registrar's office, a tax collector. You can do it online, and you can get homestead exemption, which means the taxes will be lower on your home, between $25,000 and $50,000 off the value of your home, so that your tax value will be taxed at a lower rate. And then, of course, you are going to want to make sure you have everything set up for your move prior to this as well. So those are the new changes to the buyers and sellers arrangement here in Florida because of the settlement. And then I just wanted to give you a quick synopsis of how the buying process works in a general sense. And of course, at any time, you can message me, you can send me an email, and we can schedule our buyer's consultation. And if you need to sell your home in order to buy, then we will be setting up a seller's consultation first, because you don't want to start looking for a new home until your home is under contract. And that way we will go and do a buyer's consultation after that. So we'll know exactly what you're looking for if you are ready to buy after you sell. And if you're doing just your first time home, then you're not going to have to worry about that. If you're moving out of state, I do have my referral partners all across the world, and I can help you with that process as well. So once again, friends, my name is Nicole Smith. I'm a realtor here in Metro Jacksonville, Florida, and I hope this video was useful. I hope it was helpful. And if you have any questions at all, please leave them in the comments or send me a direct email. You'll also see my calendar link. Make sure you schedule a buyer's or seller's consultation with me. And make sure you like the video, share it, save it. Maybe you're not right it's not the right time frame for you. But don't worry, it's never too early to reach out and get some of your questions answered. And if this video was not the one for you, make sure you check out one of my other videos, because I have done quite a few tours of the Metro Jacksonville area in many, many different types of communities, whether you're 55 and over, or you're a first-time home buyer looking for a beautiful townhouse, or you are looking for a beach home. Whatever you're looking for, please reach out to me today, and I'd be happy to be your go-to agent here in Jacksonville, Florida. Thanks for watching, friends, and remember, life's too short not to love where you're living, and I am living the dream here in Jacksonville, Florida. Bye for now.